But it got to the point where I would be driving home from work and I would just be thinking to myself, I'd just be fine if I just kind of drove off the edge of this road. I'm so glad I didn't, of course. But it got to the point like that where it became clear I really needed to get help. The typical just antidepressants weren't doing the trick. But Jackson House gave me the tools that I needed to deal with a whole lot of the stuff that life decided to start throwing at me. It's really awesome to be alive. I don't know. I have borderline personality disorder, so I was having a lot of borderline tendencies, were sort of just making themselves very present. I was having a really intense, strong emotions. So I was having some suicidal ideation. I was going through some really rough relationship troubles, which I feel like those oftentimes do kind of spur on other mental health problems. And I don't know, my now ex and I had gotten into a physical altercation. And I was like, this scared the hell out of me. But it got to the point where I would be driving home from work and I would just be thinking to myself, I'd just be fine if I just kind of drove off the edge of this road. I'm so glad I didn't, of course. But it got to the point like that where it became clear I really needed to get help. The typical just antidepressants weren't doing the trick. At the time, I was still going into therapy, and I kind of recognized my borderline tendencies and brought them up to my therapist. And after talking with my therapist about that, I was then looking for treatment centers that could kind of address those behavioral problems, some of my borderline tendencies. And Jackson House popped up as one of them. They actually had a specific section on their website that talked about CBT and DBT, and I was looking for a treatment center that would, that had those, and that was going to at least help me try to focus on the parts of not just my borderline personality disorder, but anxiety, depression, and all of that all kind of culminated together into not being able to function all that well, I guess, if I were to put it lightly. Well, I guess sort of a combination of, I realized I needed help. My therapist was encouraging me to seek out sort of more inpatient treatment. And the relationship problems I was having got to a point where, so it was around Christmas time. My partner wasn't comfortable anymore with me just going to visit my family for Christmas. And so that kind of really dawned on me that there was a problem. So I called my insurance. I was like, I need help. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. But I have these things I'm going through, these things that I'm feeling. And the person on the phone was super helpful. They said they themselves had bipolar disorder and went through an IOP. And that made me start looking into IOPs around me. So then I looked into not like stabilization units, one step down from that. So like for RTCs. And then I found Jackson House. Scared, super scared. I don't know. I was walking into it, feeling very, just embarrassed and ashamed of kind of where my mental health had gotten. I was embarrassed of the fact that I, thought about suicide. I was embarrassed of the fact that, I couldn't control my emotions all that well. I was embarrassed of the fact that I beat myself up all the time, and of course that just kind of compounds on itself. So when I got to Jackson House, I was pretty reserved. But when I got there, even though I was really scared, the hardest part was just walking through the doors. Like actually just doing it and getting over that hump. But once I did, everyone at Jackson House was just super friendly. The first little bit of Jackson House was really anxiety ridden, but not because of anything Jackson House did, just because of how I was feeling going into it. I think one of the things I liked the most when I first got there was that the treatment and sort of the process that we started going through it was very, regimented. So you'll have like this session in the morning and we'll be talking about this thing, but it's also very, open-ended. It doesn't feel like we're just cracking up a textbook and we're just reading some, psych article or something and then just being left to our own devices to pick it apart and absorb it. I remember the sessions being very active, very engaged. They really encouraged us to share our own stories during each of those sessions too. So I would share mine. CBT and DBT have been super, super helpful. Those were I don't know, focus on a pretty good amount in Jackson House. So we'd have like sessions in the morning where we covered it. One of them would be, I can catastrophize like crazy. So one of them was like, what's the absolute worst thing that can happen? What's the absolute best thing that can happen? Reality is like right in the middle. That's just kind of one example. I don't know. When I went in treatment in a Jackson House, I think the thing that drove me actually just finally do it is that I wanted to feel differently. Didn't want to keep feeling the way that I had been. I didn't want to keep feeling bad. It feels really bad to sit there and like hate living. I don't know. I don't think I would have been as successful as I had been had I not, stepped down into IOP for a while and then gone out back in my regular life. So like Jackson House, it's a very safe environment. You're protected from the outside world there. You can share anything, you can kind of practice any of those tools in a very fail-safe place. And then IOP is a step down. So while you're there, it's very safe, but it's also a place where you can have the opportunity to use the tools that you've learned. So say you leave IOP for a day, life is going to do its thing. Life is going to be lifey, as a friend Christine that I met at Jackson House would say. And so it gives you an opportunity to practice those tools and then come back the following day and share with your peer, your group at IOP, what happened, how you used your tools, what you've learned. And I think it really helps reinforce that. This just gives you opportunities to practice. I'll journal sometimes. Sometimes that can be really helpful. I'll just write. As uncomfortable as it is, I have a wonderful partner now who I can just tell anything. And it seems the more uncomfortable things that I tell him, the more he likes me. So, that's good. Really it is, and then I'll, my coping mechanism. So I can go run or take a walk. And try to not be maybe not be so reactive. That's what will get me, I guess, in trouble in the first place. Is if I react very emotionally, then that will kind of help. Then that will kind of lead to, going down the path of catastrophizing. For example, I have to make sure I take time for myself. I can feel it on days when I don't, because on those days when my mental health isn't great, my tendencies will be to kind of reserve. And be alone, be by myself. And as badly as it feels like I want to do that, oftentimes I should do the opposite. And so I'm glad that I've kept in contact, at least with a lot of the people that I've met at Jackson House. I might say this is say the things that that led me to go to Jackson House, those were difficult, but I would say life threw even worse things at me after I got out of Jackson House. I lost my job. My sister was in an accident. She's okay now, but for like a month, she was in a coma for like a week, and that was awful. And then my grandmother passed away a few months later. So life was just smacking me upside the head. And you never know when life is going to do that. So you would say if you're struggling with your mental health and you realize that you need to go get help and you want to go get help, to just do it. I know it's easier said than done, right? But Jackson House gave me the tools that I needed to deal with a whole lot of stuff that life decided to start throwing at me afterwards. It's worth it. There's like distinct points in your life where there's a before that time and then after that time. And then, so for me, there's a before Jackson House Kurt and there's an after Jackson House Kurt. The after Jackson House Kurt is much happier, much better able to manage my emotions, better able to recognize when I'm being dysregulated, better able to recognize when I need to talk to someone and need to get help. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect and I never make mistakes. I sure do. But Jackson House was a turning point in my life, and I thank my past self profusely for doing it. As uncomfortable as it was to just actually do it at the beginning, I told myself then, okay, future Kurt is going to be glad that I did this. Future Kurt was really glad that I did it. I think going and getting treatment for your mental health is probably the best thing you can do for yourself. It honestly really does. Because when I went to Jackson House, I didn't want to be there. When I came out of Jackson House, and something in me changed. I just fundamentally now just love being alive.
Oh,
It's really awesome to be alive. And I don't know, and I don't know exactly when that changed when I was in Jackson House, but
yeah.
yeah, it feels like a completely different person. And I don't know if I would ever get to a place where I don't want to live. If I started getting closer to that place again, I would just
Mhm.
go seek treatment if it was getting bad enough, because I just don't want to go back there. Definitely. Of course, the first day, it's always uncomfortable sharing our stories, but even just after hearing a couple other people share their stories, it made me a lot more comfortable sharing mine. Um, it's like a weight, it's like a weight gets taken off your shoulders, and then a whole bunch more gets taken off your plate when you just start sharing everything. And the first day, I would share a little bit, and then days afterwards, I just start dumping all my feelings out, and it felt really good. Felt really
Yeah.
relieving. Felt very, like you said, comforting. Um, and I also learned there that it's not a competition. Like no one is you know worse than another person. Don't compare your struggles to anybody else. Um, but everybody does in a dark way. Sharing that, and there's community in that, and it was beautiful. I guess I was thinking of sort of all of the stuff that I'd gone through after Jackson House. Um, and ironically enough, thinking about how much I now enjoy just being here, I almost got a little teary-eyed earlier, but for some reason I'm not going to. But I don't know, thinking about how much I enjoy being just alive and being able to just do things, just existing here. I don't know, it makes me emotional for some reason. Past me would probably find that very, very corny. Um, I don't know, and I have a wonderful partner who I can say absolutely anything to, and as scary as it is to share things, it gets less scary every time. Yeah, and then just kind of how much I like being here. The idea of
Yeah.
not being around now just makes me sad, and in a way that not like depressed and not taking me back to a bad place, but just in a way that is like, no, I like being alive. It feels like a transformation. I mean, for first one, there's always it's always a place where you can go and share what you're going through, because life doesn't stop lifing when you leave treatment.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to have a community and connections, people that you can go to and share what you're going through. Also, if you're going through something, you talk to someone, or you just need someone, and you can call them. You can reach out to them. If maintaining that connection kind of means that you have support very close by. I would encourage anyone who's thinking about going to treatment for their mental health to just, jump over that hill and just kind of do it. That darkness that you feel doesn't have to always be there. There is a version of you that doesn't feel that way. There's a version of you that wants to be here and loves to be here. And you are worth the effort, because um, you are the person who guides your own life. You are the one who experiences your own life, and your experience is worth making it as pleasant and as happy and as wonderful as possible. And going out and seeking treatment for yourself and taking care of your mental health is one of the best ways to make sure that the time that you do have here is as happy as it can be.
You or a loved one is facing mental health challenges or addiction. Remember, you're not alone. Jackson House can help. Hold on to hope and take the first step towards transformation.